This has been a long time coming. I don't think you need a very long introduction today. You can see in the title that today's video is all about my thoughts and opinions and just my review of Cursed Child. Welcome back to Neverland, where today's finally the day that I can share my thoughts and my feelings about Cursed Child with you. If you've seen my last video, you'll know that I saw it last week in London at Palace Theatre, and you'll also know that my opinion right away after the play was a bit mixed, to say the least. I was not quite sure what to think about it, and I have kind of made up my mind probably, but it's kind of an ongoing process. I'm not quite done. I'm still talking to friends about it and kind of hearing their opinions. But it's not all good and not all bad, that I can tell you. Just so you know, I've got my notes here because today is probably going to be a long video and we'll have a lot to discuss, and I want to do this the way it should be done. I don't want to just randomly go over characters and scenes and just be like, oh, that was good, that was bad. But I want to do the play justice because it kind of is part of this huge thing in my life now, and I want to do this properly. So please forgive me if every now and then I just kind of check my notes. I've split up my review into different kind of parts that I want to talk about, which are basically going to be plot, characterization, writing and dialogue. I want to talk about the role of Harry Potter as a story in general, and I will say very few words about performance and the thing on stage, but I will not give any spoilers because don't forget, oh, here it is, keep the secrets, keep them. We'll start with plot, and you'll agree with me that this is perhaps the most explosive of all the things when you have a look at Cursed Child, and obviously the initial reaction that we were allowed to have was to the plot, because what we got mostly from people who saw it before the play came out in book form was just summaries of the plot, and it was, I mean, I didn't read much of it, but most people did, and they didn't like what they were seeing, which I think has changed for quite a few people, and maybe rightly so. But, you know, don't forget that when I sat in that theatre, I was probably one of few to have next to no idea what was going to happen. So, all of these things that maybe came to you as a shocker online, in front of your computers or your phones, to me came as a surprise right there. And, like, I had no time to think about it. It just went, beom, 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 and you just kind of watch things unfold and you're like, oh my god. So, a lot was happening, obviously, and I was sitting there and the things were happening and was like, oh, I see why fandom hates this. But this is already where kind of the theme of this review is kind of starting, and my theme will kind of be my fan reaction, my fan opinion on the one side, and my opinion as a person who would like to tell stories for children on the other side. So on the one hand, we have the fan point of view and the storyteller point of view, and those two are very, very different perspectives. And you'll see why very shortly. So the plot of Cursed Child is controversial in that it uses time traveling, which lots of people will say is kind of, on the one hand, an easy thing to do, but on the other hand, a very difficult thing to do, because it means you have to stick to rules, and time traveling is difficult, and it's something that is not yet a real science. So, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to approach it? And obviously there were kind of easy rules in the books, but you kind of have to make them bigger and kind of have to make them more elaborate if you looking at what they did in Cursed Child, which is of course time travel a lot, time travel for very long times and everything. And then there's also the thing that, of course, all the time travelers were supposed to be destroyed, but then out of the blue one turns up. So I see why fans are not very happy about this. Another thing that I see is Voldemort's daughter and how fans would maybe react negatively to that. Because I think as a fandom, and I've been part of fandom for a very long time, we've all collectively had this stage of inventing people's relatives, Voldemort's daughter, Snape's daughter, Sirius's sister. I mean, I'm just as guilty. I created Harry's sister when I was 10, and I still kind of have her as a character in my mind, and she's still this huge part of, for me, of the Harry Potter story. So I see why fans kind of think this is an old bag, especially because collectively we've all kind of agreed that this is something that we would do in the past when we were kids, but now we've grown up and we don't do these things anymore. And then a new part of canon comes along and just does it. So I saw it happen and I was like, oh my god. Again, as a fan. But then I kind of sat and thought about it. I had a look at people's reaction in the theatre, and that's the thing. I didn't just get my reaction reading it. I saw it unfold, and then I saw how people reacted. And people loved it. I mean, they absolutely loved it. They went crazy. And even my boyfriend, who is not really familiar with the Harry Potter books, but just with the movies, he knows a lot because of me, but, you know, he's not really invested in the world as we are. And who didn't quite like everything about the play. He was probably even more negative about it than I was. Even he thought that the introduction of Voldemort's daughter in the form of Delphi and the way that she was kind of introduced was great. So yes, we're all kind of, as fans, with our history and the way that kind of we have formed our opinions on sudden relatives of people, we're like, nah. But as a storyteller, this was a great thing to do. And thinking about this and also the time traveling aspect, I'm like, why wouldn't you? You have Harry Potter as this huge, crazy world, and you're there and you're writing a story, so why not make use of what you have? Why have fandom have... Stop honking. Why let fandom have all the fun? Why would you not have fun? And the thing is, the masses, who ultimately are the majority of the people watching and reading this, the masses who mildly enjoy Harry Potter, they have no idea about what we used to do in fandom and the things that we used to come up with. They don't know. They just randomly enjoy what they're seeing. And what they're seeing apparently they liked, or what they're reading anyway. So who are we to say this is stupid because this is one of our early phases in fandom? It's really just, you know, it's something that they did and that apparently worked. So as a storyteller, I'm like, wow, that's actually quite genius. As a fan, I obviously had a similar reaction, but I am one person. I'm not like a fan and a storyteller. I am these things combined. So the storyteller opinion of me is kind of influencing the fan one. So I am okay with the time traveling aspect. I am okay with Voldemort's daughter. I just think that everything happened very quickly. And that's interesting because I talked to people and who've just read it, and they were like, oh, it's very organic. It happens and unfolds in a way that makes sense. And I was like, really? Because I thought it was super quick. But then those people obviously could like read the scene, put it away and think about it, whereas I had 2.5 hours filled with action and then another 2.5 hours filled with action. So I didn't really have the time to process it. And I didn't know what was going on anyway, so just, you know, things kept happening and it was all a bit too fast for me. Apart from the fact that it maybe seemed a bit rushed to me as a person who was watching it for the first time, I kind of wanted the story to breathe every now and then, and it did take breaths, but not often enough. We did have emotional scenes, especially for Harry, and then every now and then for Albus, but I wanted a bit more of that. I kind of wanted more, you know, just a bit more silence, and I wanted more meaningful conversations. And I think even as a storyteller that would have fit in there somewhere. I think it would. Maybe just exchange a bit of the adventurous, you know, plot lines and just kind of exchange them with more quiet character development scenes, because it's not that characters didn't get any development, but there were many characters and I would have loved for everyone to kind of have a bit of a moment. and obviously the thing concentrated mostly on Harry and Albus and maybe Scorpius, but you know, there's other really important characters in the Harry Potter universe, and maybe they would have deserved to shine a bit more as well. Speaking of characters, let's go over to characterization. Mm-hmm. That's maybe that's perhaps my most problematic thing as a fan. Because again, as a storyteller, I see why things are being done the way they're done, which I kept saying already in my immediate reaction, by the way. Scorpius and Albus are amazing. They're absolutely amazing. I went into this play thinking, I don't care about their kids, I'm sorry. I was happy about the epilogue in that I was happy for my babies to be happy. But I just, you know, I didn't care about Albus. I never cared about Scorpius anyway, because I'm not a Malfoy girl. If anything, I maybe cared a bit about Rose and Hugo, because, you know, they're Hermione babies, and Hermione on my heart. But I just, you know, I didn't care about what was going to happen to them. But Scorpius and Albus were so quickly established as such likable characters. And I'm seeing people not really connect to Albus, but I kind of weirdly can. I do like him. He's a bit whiny, but he's a teenager in a kind of a difficult position, and I'd be whiny in that position. And Scorpius is just amazing. I love Scorpius, and the thing is, Scorpius kind of probably took over the role of Ron and Hermione in one, in that, you know, he's got Hermione's brains, but Ron's wit, book Ron. Book Ron's wit, book Ron's wit. Book Ron's wit. But it just worked for me. He was just awkward and sweet, and so was Albus, and they just had such a great friendship, if maybe not even more. I know lots of people are annoyed about the queer baiting, but I've talked to other people who thought, no, the friendship were great, but I personally saw a lot of chemistry, but then I think the actors might have a lot of chemistry, so I don't know. But, just those two as characters, I'm so happy to have them in our franchise. I love them dearly. What about the trio? Harry was fine, I think. Harry was okay. He was a bit drastic at times, which is so difficult because we're used to kind of reading his story. We're maybe even used to seeing his story and kind of seeing the look on his face, but theatre is such a different medium. Be it the script or the play on stage, it's just, you see a lot of things that are maybe taken out of context for us, but with context, with his kind of thoughts, we would understand it a lot better. But, you know, you don't really get that in that medium, and that's fine. I'm just wondering whether they should have paid more attention to this. So Harry was okay. He was more or less in character. I felt a lot for him. Jamie Parker was amazing. And, yeah. Ron. I've said this only once on this channel, I think, but Ron is my favorite character of any story, of any fictional thing in the entire world. Ron is everything, and they took him and just ripped him apart. But the thing is, they didn't do that perhaps because they wanted to, but because they had to. That's a storyteller coming in again. What do the masses know of Harry Potter? What impression do the masses have of these characters? Well, you know, they read the books a couple of years ago, maybe once or so, but they've watched the movies because they're on all the time, everywhere really. Even where I live, nobody here gives a damn about Harry Potter. And even here, you'll see them a lot on TV. So what impression do they have of Ron? Well, it's movie Ron that they're remembering. Thank you, Steve Kloves. And that's kind of, I think, the reason for what has happened to Ron in Cursed Child. As my boyfriend said, my boyfriend doesn't even like Ron. My boyfriend detests Ron because of how much love I have for this character. But even my boyfriend said, wow, it's great that he's at least not standing there all the time with a bag of crisps or something, just eating constantly. Because it was even movie Ron had more dimension than Ron in this play. And then every time, which was not a lot anyway, but every time he did get to do something more important, it just didn't make any sense. I was like, why would you help turn Harry into Voldemort? Like, you seem to be absolutely stupid. Why would anyone let you near a wand? Why would anyone invite you to any kind of meeting? It doesn't make any sense. Why would he even come with them in time travel? It just, in terms of the play, didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense. And then at the same time, we had Hermione as this Uber person. Again, something that I took offense with during the movies already, and that's actually what I wrote my one of my VA papers about. It's just this, you know, in that way, kind of an unfeminist view of Hermione, because I love that she's given power, and I love that she's this awesome ass-kicking woman, but not giving a person any flaws, especially women, does not make them more feminists. It just doesn't. It doesn't make sense. But that's what they did in the movies. Again, thank you, Steve Kloves, for just making your favorite character this great, amazing person that no one can relate to anymore. Again, as a fan, I just want to cry forever. As a storyteller, what choice did they have? What else were they going to do with these characters? They had to kind of model them in a way that it makes sense for the masses, and this is what they've remembered from the movies. You know, it's just really, really hard. And, yeah. What can I say? Scorpius and Albus are amazing. They were also played really well, but also written well. So you can see that they can do great nuanced characters. But when it came to the trio, they kind of had to see what they could do with a general opinion of these three, and the general opinion was just weird film caricatures. And this is what we got for the play. Ron really pained me. It was so bad. It was so painful to watch. It was so painful that actually at stage door, when I got to talk to Paul Thornley, who plays Ron, I told him I was shaking. I was literally shaking. And I told him that I was sad that they didn't give him more to do, because I kind of needed to find a way to tell him, Ron sucked, but it wasn't because of you, but you kind of can't tell that to a person's face. So I was like, no, I wish they'd given you more to do. And he said something back, but I don't remember because I was shaking so hard, and it was just, you know, the play had just been over, and, you know, just, that's the thing. Maybe I should have read it first, because just the reaction that I had was very, very strong, and I would have kind of loved to be there more, like, mentally, which I wasn't, which I never am, and I should have known, because I was like, well, you know, you've grown up, it's not like you were 13 finishing the last book. No, it was exactly that way. I just kept crying. I just couldn't stop crying. I was standing at stage door just crying. So I'm getting off track. I'm sorry. Where were we? Characterization. As a storyteller, everything they did made perfect sense. As a fan, I want to cry my heart out. Over to writing dialogue. I mean, the thing is that it's theatre. It's not a film. It's theatre. And it perhaps wasn't the usual theatre script. It wasn't like a usual drama, and I've read quite a bit of drama in the course of my studies. Something I'm not very fond of, by the way. So it was if anything, it was commercial theatre, but in the end, if you saw it, it was theatre. So it was over the top a lot. You just, you know, that's just the medium. That's what it is. The jokes, as well as maybe the dialogue as well, was a bit on the nose. There wasn't a lot of interpretive work to do. It was definitely all laid out there, and that kind of made it feel not very sophisticated, which is so weird because Harry Potter as a book series is so sophisticated. But again, this was theatre. It was theatre for an audience that was largely contained people like me, basically millennials and younger. And we're not very used to the medium of theatre, I think, just not anymore. which is fine. It's not a problem. It's just that they kind of had to make the play fit for us then. And I'm not sure if, had the play been more sophisticated, this mass of people who have not grown up with theatre would have kind of been able to catch up all the time. So it's just this very literal dialogue. And again, there's not a lot of interpreting to do. Harry said what he was feeling. If it didn't say it immediately to Albus, he said it later to Ginny. And same with Albus. He just, it was all there. There was no guesswork. There was no, oh wow, I think this is what they're trying to say. That, it was all there. This is what we're trying to say. Go, here it is. There's, Okay, so, this is maybe something, again, that as a fan, this is insane. That as a fan, I was really looking forward to a sophisticated play, thinking it was going to be made for people like me, but of course it wasn't. Absolutely stupid to think that. Of course it wasn't. It was going to be made for people who loved the movies, and for people who are not familiar with the medium of theatre anymore. And that's what it is. And is that it worked. So I keep mentioning how split I am when it comes to A Cursed Child, and how I have this fan reaction, but also the reaction as a storyteller. So why is the storytelling perspective so important? Well, I think Harry Potter as a story is growing in many ways. I've already, the past couple of years, I've said that, it used to be, 10 years ago, it used to be just us Potterheads, which wasn't even a word back then. It was just us Harry Potter fans, and we would be online and just not, maybe many of us, interestingly, just maybe didn't feel quite at home in their usual surroundings, and just kind of escaped into this great world, and also escaped into fandom. And that was amazing, and it was our little corner of the world where we could just be us and just could have fun, and it was amazing. But the internet didn't stay a place for nerds. It kind of became bigger, which is great. I'm happy. As a person who's into media and just kind of did media studies, that's great. It's giving us so many possibilities, but it also means that we have to share this our safe space, and share our content perhaps up to a certain extent. And it turns out that a lot of people enjoyed Harry Potter, not in the ways that we did, but a lot of people enjoyed it. So now, today, when Joe releases new content on Pottermore or whatever, it's not just us getting happy or getting angry for some reason, as fans do, but it's the general media reporting about this, usually leaving out important information. So it's really just not our thing anymore. So it has grown in that sense, but it's also grown in terms of how timely it is, and in terms of how long it will last in our minds, in our descendants' minds, and so on and so on. And I think we're getting slowly, but clearly getting to a point where Harry Potter is reaching this level of great stories of humanity, which, I've said for a while, and people have looked at me like I was insane, but I think we're getting there. And we're getting to a point where it's on par with Peter Pan, with Alice in Wonderland. And let's have a look. Peter Pan's actually a really good example. Let's have a look at Peter Pan. So we all love Peter Pan. We all think that Peter and Wendy, not all of us, I do, I think that Peter and Wendy should have been together, even though, yes, there are a lot of problematic aspects to their love story, but then it was written in a different time. And because I love this story so much, I've read the originals, but because I love this story so much, I kind of wanted to continue. I want people to keep doing stuff with it. So movies are being made all the time, and plays, and new stories, and new books, and maybe even fan fiction. And the story keeps growing, and the story kind of has this timeless aspect to it now. And I think Harry Potter's going the same way, because sooner or later, unfortunately, Jo will not be anymore. And the story will probably just continue because people want to hear more about it. So when a lot of fans complain about things that things keep happening in the Harry Potter franchise and that stories keep being told, that's kind of, I think, a very selfish view, because I want my grandchildren to enjoy this story. It's amazing. Have you read it? It's awesome. And the thing is, I enjoy Peter Pan as a myth in a way first, but then I came back to the original books and I loved them. So who's to say that this isn't going to happen in 20 years when they make the 20th remake of, I don't know, some kind of movie, or when they publish new things. Who says that the 15-year-olds from that era are not going to come back to the original books and enjoy them? It's just, I think it's selfish to say, oh, leave it alone, keep the legacy intact. The legacy is that we want to share it over times with as many people as we can. And storytelling, attention spans, interests, they change so quickly. And I don't want to be short-minded and say this is ours, keep away. I want to share it as much as I can, which would not have been the case 10 years ago, but it is now, because I'm a storyteller now, and I think stories are here to be told. And I think Joe has seen that as well. Yeah. So Harry Potter is growing, and I'm very, very happy about that. You'll realize that I have hardly talked about performance and live stage stuff. Again, I'm keeping the secrets, but it's amazing. I've never seen anything like this. My boyfriend was less impressed because it was like, oh, I know how they're doing the things, but just shut up. It was amazing. It was so cool. It was on stage magic. I don't want to spoil anything, but I really want to, but I'm not gonna, because it's just so good. You have to see it for yourself. It's a different layer of awesomeness to Cursed Child that I hope as many people as possible will be able to experience. All in all, Cursed Child, as a fan who's been with the story for a while, as a fan who's 22 in the year of 2016, might not be completely satisfactory. As a fan of Ron, might even be a bit painful. But as a storyteller, as a person who's enjoying other people's enjoyment, I'm really happy with it. And I'm happy about this new piece of magic in our franchise, and I'm happy that now when I listen to the Harry Potter audiobooks, to Philosopher's Stone, with this new point of view that I have now, with this new look on Harry as a character, I look at Philosopher's Stone, I'm like, oh, look at this little baby. It's like looking at old photographs, and it's really cool. I love being in the middle of it. I love having experienced all of it when it happened, and I hope I'm going to experience much more. I do. I think this has been a long video. Thank you so much for staying with me. You should definitely check out my vlog from last week, where I kind of documented my experience around Cursed Child as a fan. You should also not forget that this is Harry Potter month on Back to Neverland, so stay tuned for more Harry Potter content. Yeah, as always, you can like the video if you liked it. You can subscribe if you want to see more of me and children's entertainment and Harry Potter, of course. Please let me know in the comments about your opinion, because I'm really interested in people's opinions, but be respectful, because as I keep saying, fandom should be more respectful of each other. You can follow me on Twitter or on Tumblr to stay updated on my videos and children's media in general. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.